Welcome to the Girl from Bombay podcast with Jules Williams. Telling stories, touching lives, connecting people, bringing encouragement and hope. And now here's Jules.
Hi, and welcome to our podcast, The Girl from Bombay. And I am the girl from Bombay, and here with me is my dear friend Gretchen. Hi Gretchen, welcome. And we have been having conversations. We try to meet weekly. And one of the things that we thought would be really nice to do was take this conversation out from just our rooms where we are. And we have these dialogues, and we wish other people were in that conversation. Because in our walk as older women, we have seen life quite a bit, ups and downs. And I was telling Gretchen, sometimes you go through a valley, but in the valley, there are many valleys that I've learned only through experience. And we want to share some of the things that have happened in our lives. We are just going to be having a conversation. We don't have any set agenda how this is going to go. We are not the high funda, very polished podcast people. We're just two women, two friends, and we are going to share. We don't know what's going to come out of this, but we do have a topic. And our topic today is integrity. I think that as we look at the world, and then we find this digital world, where people are really hiding behind their phones. And when there's a lack of integrity there, people disappear, or it becomes part of life. But if you go back to the olden days, integrity was so important, which is the quality of being honest, having strong moral principles, such as honesty and fairness, sincerity, consistency in one's actions. Those, when we were growing up and were living in neighborhoods where we interacted back in India, it was almost like integrity wasn't a choice, because people knew you by how you lived and how you demonstrated your life. And I think there's a big struggle, because who is modeling integrity for the younger generation? And we are not trying to be like teachers or, we know better than somebody. We don't. We're just going to share our life experiences. And so, Gretchen, take it from here. What are your, the things that I shared right now? What's your take on that?
Oh, I love that, Jules. I think there's a lot really that goes into this. And I love that you brought up this topic. I think integrity is so underrated. I think that we really need to take responsibility for ourselves. And I think integrity really speaks to that. And I think that we live in a culture now, whether we're on our phone or we're on social media, and we're trying to look a certain way for maybe a certain population, or to gain some viewership or that kind of thing. But I think that we've lost the ability to be unique in ourselves and speak for ourselves and speak truly about authenticity, who we are, and the integrity of being who we are. I think there's a lot to be said for that. My father, when I was younger, he'd always say, "My word is good." And I really cherish that, because that meant that if he said something, that he would or would not do something, he meant that. And he always had follow through. And I really appreciate that about people that I have met now as I've grown up, and I've created relationships and connections with people. And I really feel like that is the fundamental foundation of a good relationship and a good connection with someone, is when they're true to their word, when they have integrity, when they tell you that they will do something and they follow through, when they show up a certain way and they're exactly who they are and they speak their truth. I just really appreciate that more and more as I grow into this journey of life.
So interesting. My mind, while you were talking, was going to, just one very common thing is the dating apps. That that people go on. And most times when people meet other people, they're not what they put themselves forward to be. I mean, there are stories of, disasters and loss of life and things like that. And so it's kind of scary out there. Whether it be that, or whether you see a particular scene on one of those videos. I don't have TikTok, but some of these short videos, and you think that's how life is. And I think what basically it's just presenting is a lack of integrity, in the sense that what is being shown is not what it is. And what is happening is that a large amount of maybe young people and maybe a little bit older get swept in that tide, in that current, that's how life is. That's how it's so rosy. That's how the wonderful vacation is. And that's how that marriage looks so wonderful. But it is an illusion, right? I think that the younger people, or even older, so it's not just for the younger people, is that how that your personal character is something when you do what you do live face to face. It's how that integrity shapes an individual's character and defines who they are, and how you take that out with you. And so the consistency in, like you said, about keeping the word, and how when people stay in the word and tend to fulfill what they have said, it becomes a part and parcel of their lives.
I agree. And I also think that, integrity speaks a lot to your personal truth. And I think sometimes we become a chameleon as to sometimes our personal truth to fit into a certain norm, whether it be on social media or in a certain peer group, or want to be liked by someone. And I think that when you just stay really strong into like who you are, and think that speaks to your integrity, right? Who you truly are. What is your truth? What are your values? What are your morals? Where do you see your journey leading you? And are you being truthful with how you are presenting who you are to other people, and setting up boundaries so that you are treated by other people how you want to be treated? I think there's a full circle that we're talking about as far as that dynamic.
Right. And I think a very good example of integrity, at least that stands out to me, are two in the Bible itself. One is Job, um, when everything is taken away from him, because he had core integrity in his relationship with God. Nothing could shake him from that relationship, the truth. I love, somebody said, what is the truth? And the response was, the truth is a person, and that is Jesus Christ. And Job stays with it. And even when everything is taken, he says, even if he slays me, yet will I love him. And that is the integrity of character, of being bound to God, and that's what we need to see more and more of people, even ourselves, is the integrity that we need to have in our personal character. And years ago, I saw a picture of a cat looking inside a shoe, and it said, character is what you do when no one is looking. You know?
I think that's really valuable. I think personal integrity is really, that's the truth, doing the right thing according to you, right? And creating that value for yourself, right? Because what you do, I think, then find value in yourself, doing the right, quote unquote, the right thing. And the thing that you feel in your soul is, your truth in terms of, what your beliefs are. And swaying from that, you're not going to value yourself, I think, because you are going to feel like you somehow cheated yourself to be a different person, or to go a different way. And I think at the end of the day, we have to take care of ourselves, and what is our value to ourselves. And I think that becomes then, like you're speaking about God values that. And then you speak to the value of how you are for other people. It just is a stepping stone, I think, to being who you truly want to be in the world.
I'm thinking of remembering a story actually when I worked with the street kids back in India. So there was a local, some kind of a gathering, some kind of a festival going on. And one of my youngest boys, that, from the boys' home, he went, I don't know, a couple of them maybe got together, but I know he was the main culprit. So he went in the night, and there was a little like a money box that people were putting in some donations, and being little as he was, he managed to steal it and he brought it home. I got to know of it the next day. And because all the kids said, Mom, look, he has got some money, and I'm like, where did you get that money from? And, he confessed. And he said, well, I got it from such and such a place. And I said, well, that wasn't the right thing that you did. And we need to go to the person who is organizing this, this fair or whatever, and has put up this donation box, and we need to make it right with him. And I think he had spent some money out of it. I don't know how much. So I went there, I took him, because I think that was part of helping him build his character.
Mm.
And it was important to face the music of, of this thing that you have done. And we talked. I went and told this man what he did, and he looked at the little boy, and I said, what is the, you might have some punishment for him, or, what do you want to do? And then I don't know how much money he's taken already. And the man looked at me for a while, and he said, and he looked at the boy, and then he said, that you brought him here to teach him integrity is enough, and I'll take whatever money he has now. And then he looked at the little boy and, told him not to do that. And, but owning up to what happened,
Yeah.
helped the little boy to understand that that's not something you do.
Right.
And there was, teaching him integrity. And I think I love that story that you were telling me about your glasses that you bought.
Oh, yeah. That was
Do tell us that.
Oh, that my dad, I had graduated from college and I'd gone off to work, and I'd come back to see my dad, and I told him about he mentioned, oh, I like your glasses. And I said, oh, Dad, you'll never believe it. I got such a good deal on these glasses. I don't think they charged me right. I think they charged me the wrong price. And Dad said, and at that moment, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I was perfectly fine with that. And my dad said, huh, so you got something and you agreed on a particular value and a price that you would pay, and you didn't pay that. And I said, no, I think they made a mistake. And he said, well, I think that's something you need to think about and live with. And that's all he said. And when I got back to my hometown, I went back to the optical store and I told him, showed him my receipt, and I did pay the extra money. And I have to say that that was valuable, because I realized that was my responsibility, and that was part of his lesson for integrity. And he's right. I could have lived with it one way, or I could have lived with the other way, but I have to be perfectly honest. Living with it, doing the right thing, felt much better. Even though, I'm going to be honest, I didn't really want to part with the money. I think that was such a valuable lesson. And through the years, I do think about that. When you get a good deal or something, you think about, yeah, but even in that, like, was it a fair good deal, right? Was it truly on sale, or did something happen, or the clerk made a mistake? Then I think still you have the responsibility to make that right. And I think that was my dad's lesson that day, without, it was just on me to figure it out, but he did point it out, and I'm really grateful for that.
I think that integrity really helps, like if you nurture integrity, it helps you, it prevents you from making unethical, behavior. It helps to
Mhm.
prevent you from unethical behavior, and also it promotes accountability and responsibility.
Right.
But it's important to listen to that voice and to, you know, uh, be a person of integrity. Because if you don't listen to the voice and you keep like, oh, that's okay, it was just a matter of $30, and then next time it's $50, next time it's another thing, and
Right.
slowly you shut down the conscience, when then that not being a person with integrity becomes a commonplace thing. But it's never a good thing.
No.
I don't, not I don't think, I believe completely with all my heart that there is no blessing when you don't have integrity.
Yeah, and I have seen this of late in if you have someone, there's a situation, let's just say, and two people are involved, it can be friends, family, whatever. And one person feels like something in an event happened and they don't feel right about it. So it doesn't sit right with them. It can be financial, it can be crossing the line, some boundary, right? I think it's very important that you evaluate what it is you're struggling with. Like why is that hurting my heart? Why does that not feel right? And I
Right.
think then we have I think it's very important to speak your truth. I think that's part of our own integrity too, to say to someone, hey, whether they change, it changes the outcome or not, is not really what I'm addressing. I'm saying that you need to continue to speak who you are to people, to let them know. And the truth is that it might not change the event. It may not change the person's attitude toward a certain situation or even toward you. But I do think that that allows you to put out into the world what it is that you are speaking. And I think that becomes your essence, like who you are, and it builds your character by saying to people, that doesn't work for me. Or conversely, thank you so much for, right? I think that's part of our integrity too, is to acknowledge what works and then confront the things that don't. Now, I do think there's certain times in your life when something happens and you let it be water under the bridge. In other words, is it worth the chaos? Is it worth you speaking up? Generally, I think it is, because if it is weighing on you or keeping you up, or if it just doesn't feel right, or it now starts affecting your relationship with someone else, then I think it is really an obligation for us to take responsibility for what it is that doesn't work for us, and then go and speak to what it is that doesn't work without really believing that we can entirely change what it is that happened, but at least we are able to address it and have some opening that maybe could start another way of being with someone, or, a workplace or whatever it is. But I think too often we allow the feelings that we have, which I think are really our internal, like, meter, right? It's our internal
Yeah,
truth.
it's our conscience that God's
Right.
given.
It doesn't feel good. And we sometimes stuff that. And then we become another version of who we are versus who we truly should be in the world, which is really beautiful.
Right. And I think, everybody is looking for, people, especially in employment scenarios, employees, leaders, organizations that demonstrate integrity. They are seen as credible, reliable, you know and ethical, and they are looking for such people too. And
Yeah.
there may be a lot of stuff that's going on that's not right, but you maintaining your integrity,
Yeah.
I believe, sets the course for your own life. Because one of the things is, people who have integrity, they can sleep well.
Yeah. It's
It
true.
doesn't matter if you're making less money, or you lost something, or like just with the glasses and so many other things that happen in our life, and you know what, yeah, I'll just let it go, because that's not what I want to do. It's not integrity. And I think that there is an unparalleled uh, satisfaction. it's
Mhm.
it's an eternal thing. We are spiritual beings, and it's an eternal thing that God has put in us. I did not compromise, and
Mhm.
I did this with integrity. And how I think it's so powerful, the words that we speak. And
Mhm.
like, my dad too, like your dad, is to say my word is my bond. Uh,
Mm,
if dad would say he was going to be there at a particular time, he'd be there 15 minutes earlier. That's part of integrity. And I'm thankful for that because he taught me that. There were times my dad would like tell me to meet him somewhere. And then if I was 15 minutes late, honestly, he's gone.
yeah,
But he wasn't really angry. What he was doing is teaching me
yeah.
that I need to be a woman of my word. And if I,
Mm,
so I would say, oh, Dad, I'd come, Dad, you know what happened? There was traffic. And he said, well, you should have counted for that before you left home.
right.
I was going to see him anyway because, I'd meet somewhere and then I was going home, going to see him. Uh,
Yeah.
and I was going to meet him in another hour, maybe if he wasn't there. So
Mm,
there wasn't like any bad blood or there wasn't any anger. But basically, he was just teaching me that it's
yeah,
so important to be on time. That's such a crucial part of integrity.
it is.
I read this beautiful thing. It said, the difference between time and money is this: you know how much money you have, but you never know how much time you have.
Mm,
And I think that I believe that people have lost the value of time and what it means.
mm,
And that I think is tied up so tight with integrity, being on time somewhere, saying what you're going to do, doing it at that time. And
I think it's also very respectful. Like if you have an agreement and you say, meet me at a certain time, I think it's respectful to be
right,
there and show that other person that you're honoring of their time, right? Not only, so it really is goes hand in hand with all of that. I think, like it's amazing to me right now when we sit here and chat about integrity. I was just my mind was just spilling over into all the things that integrity touches. When you were even talking about being on time, I thought about time in the sense of being present, right? And how much integrity there is to truly like being present in these situations. Like so often we show up and, grab a coffee with a friend, show up at work, do whatever, but are we really present, And spilling into that is, are we really embracing what it is that we've got going on in terms of our life? It's so beautiful if we just look at having the ability to just live this life and experience these experiences and be with people and whatever it is, climb a mountain, look at a sky, touch a hand, it's just so incredible to be present. Quickly, just less than it's a little over a month ago, I became a grandmother for the first time. And I was so excited to fly on the plane, to go, walk in that door and to see that baby. But I just remember thinking, be present, I mean, look at your son and look at your daughter-in-law and look at this baby. Just really absorb what it is that this moment is all about and embracing it fully and having the integrity to show up fully, not just, there to see the baby or
right.
it just really was a distinction. I really tried to feel all the feelings, really when you pet the dog, do you really feel the fur and, just really absorb what it is that is the beauty of life, and I'm feeling like there's so much to speak to in terms of integrity, and that is just showing up fully and being aware, fully present.
And I think it's like people with integrity strive to make a positive impact, you know,
Mm,
on their families and their friends and the communities around them, And I think
mm,
that's so special what you say about being present. I
mm,
remember, uh, we isolated and it was for a long time anyway, and couldn't see my daughter, both my girls actually, for a while. And I remember saying to her, I wish I'd hugged you longer because we
yeah,
didn't know if we were going to see each other.
yeah,
And I carry that with me. And I think it's so important when we say goodbye to people that we
yeah,
look with your eyes and the special human being that's in front of you who has taken the time either to invite you or, spend time with you in a coffee shop. Um, And I think right in there, I can slide this whole thing about our digital world, how it's so, I'm going to say it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible when you're sitting with a person and you're actually on the phone
Mm.
and you see, people all sitting together and everybody's on the phone. Why are you even together? You
Mm.
know, and it's so sad because somebody took the time to be with you,
Mm.
and this other person is somewhere far away. Maybe you don't even know them and you're probably just scrolling or whatever. And let me say that's lack of integrity,
Mm.
because the integrity part would have been actually to sit and have that conversation.
Yeah.
I saw this in Spain. I think it was 5 years ago when I visited Spain. They have this culture, at least the place that I was in, that people we're in a coffee shop, but everybody's phone was face down,
Yeah.
and people were talking. And I think they'd lift it up in an emergency of probably look, but not everybody on their phone. And
Mm.
that was something very precious to see.
Mm.
And I mean, so many older, the older generation feel left out with their grandkids, and it's
Mm.
so sad, it's so heartbreaking.
It is. And, I ran across this term recently, and it's called authentic listening. And I never thought too much about authentic listening, but it's, the ability to put your phone down, but more than that, to really, like when someone is speaking, to really hold their words and value what it is they're speaking about, right? Because so often, one of the things that I find is that this is what I have a habit of doing, right? Someone is talking and I'll get excited and I'm already thinking about what I want to say, and I forget to listen. And I think there's integrity in allowing people to speak. I think there's integrity in just valued listening, like fully embracing listening. Now, listening is distinct from agreeing, right? So we have a lot of that going on in our world right now, right? We have the inability to listen to someone else's views, which brings us back to integrity, right? But integrity is saying, you have an opinion, I will listen, right? And then when it's my turn, I will speak. But that doesn't mean that I need to devalue you because you have a different opinion. I think that we need to be very open as to how we authentically listen to people and embrace our differences, because I think around the world, we're very different. In my block that I live in my house, we're very different, but we're still got the commonality of humanity and the things that we're going through. And, I'll have things happen to my neighbor and I have no idea they're going through a struggle or a strife, or I just found out my neighbor across the street is very sick. I had no idea. So sometimes we hold things the way that, we see it versus really knowing. So I was really thinking about that the other day. How was I as a listener? Was I really embracing people, giving them, honoring their space to be listened to?
And integrity comes at a cost. It's not
Mm.
easy,
No.
but it's something that we need to pay attention to,
Yes.
and and help integrity to grow within us. Is like help this value it, this characteristic in your life.
Yes. I
And at
agree.
the end of the day, I think there's a very wonderful example of Joseph in the Bible, who was sold by his brothers, and then he went through all the difficult things there. He was put into prison because he was in the Pharaoh's house, and he didn't succumb to the Pharaoh's wife's moves on him, and he went into prison. But everywhere there in his story, it says, and the Lord blessed him, and the Lord blessed him, and the Lord was with him. What an
Mm.
amazing thing is when you have that characteristic in your life and you want to hold on to that integrity
Yeah.
and do the right thing, that
Yeah.
when somebody unveils it, they'll say, why, there's nothing. I mean, this is pure integrity. this person didn't do anything wrong, you know, and God blessed him, and he later became head and was able to help his people, and God set him up. And I think that is so important. No matter what, it's not just about the money, and it's not about what people will think. At the end of the day, it's what does God really think of you? How are you
Mm.
walking? Are you walking in the light or in the darkness, you know?
Yeah.
And when we walk in the light, we know there's nothing to fear. There's no shame.
Mhm.
It's okay. Maybe it means less money, or it means somebody even fell out with you because you have the integrity, but that doesn't matter, right? And
Mhm.
I do, we need that every single day. It's not like because we are grown up now that we can say, oh, we have got this integrity under our belt. You
No.
know, every day we got to make decisions. And I'll just end with this story. So the other day I went to the store and I was wanting to buy a mason jar. And it was a little store. And I put stuff in, you know, in my, in the cart. And my purse was in the cart too. And by mistake, I put a mason jar in my purse. And, you know, it's not a big store. So it's a little store. They don't have, you know, I bought all the other things, I paid for it, and I came out and I saw I had the mason jar. And my job was to go back and return it. You know, little things like that. I mean, what I'm saying is you're challenged every day,
Every day.
every day. And so even though we are older, and like I said, we don't have all said and done, yes, but every day there's a challenge. Every day we need to make decisions. And I think as when we retain that and want to grab onto it, all the way life is much better
Yeah,
than when you try to compromise, you know?
I agree. I think it's kind of like a muscle, right? We talk about that sometimes, right? But if you keep doing it repeatedly, it gets a little stronger. But if we fall off, it gets a little
Right.
weaker. So it is something that we have to constantly evaluate, make those choices, and it gets a little stronger. I feel that's the right thing to do. Or I was fully present today. I was, in the moment today. I was on time today. All the things that sometimes are a struggle in one day, to be able to be fully on your game and be responsible for yourself, and to show integrity for yourself, but also to the world, right? In the way that you treat other people, the way that, even I was watching the other day, going to a store, for example, and there's a cashier, and, they've had a really long day and they're on their feet, and and I just feel like there's integrity is speaking to people like you'd want to be spoken to. And I just feel like so often we disregard other people, or we don't see them, or we don't value what other people are doing in terms of active service for us. And I've been really trying to acknowledge lately that I have done that, where I've bypassed the clerk, or I've, um, passed by someone without being kind. So I feel like that's something that I'm trying to be more aware of. And that's what you're talking about, right? Is that it's a journey. It's a continual journey to be aware of how important integrity is in your life, and to continue to make the choices that grow that muscle.
Yeah, that's great. I think, you know, I loved our conversations in the room between the two of us, and bringing this out into the open, because I always saw that you have something special to offer. You really do. You have such a beautiful insight, you know, into things, and you see the world uh, in a way that is rare.
Mm.
And so that's why I was inspired. You inspired me to do these podcasts on life, just, you know, little things in life. And I mean, they're the little things that really make up our life, and they are eventually the big things, you know. uh,
They are.
and I think that, like, one of the most, to me, what sticks most is, like I said before, is when you have integrity, you just sleep well.
Yeah.
so it's whether it's integrity in buying something or
Conscience is
paying
clear,
less,
right?
paying more, integrity in listening to somebody, authentic listening, like you said, or integrity in saying, hey, you know what, I really don't like this, and this is not how I was raised, or this is my issue with this thing. Even the integrity in speaking it out, maybe the other person accepts it or doesn't accept it. And so how this you bring to the table this fact that integrity is uh, like a prism with so many
Mm,
so many different rays of light, so many different colors, and at any given situation or any given moment of time, uh, that integrity has to shine through in all the things that we do, you know.
I
And I
agree.
think when we do that, we we allow the Lord to shine through our lives in this very, very dark world.
Mhm.
You know,
I agree.
we need, people need the light, people need the joy, people need peace, people need understanding. When you stop and talk to a person for a few minutes, they just go completely like, oh my gosh, this person acknowledged me,
Mhm.
actually asked me my name. I love that. I love to ask people's names, anybody, even if it's a waiter or a receptionist. I always make it a point to ask their names because they have a name
Mhm.
and they feel so valued
Yeah.
that you stopped and you talked to them and asked their name. Sometimes the name is like weird and it like takes me 5 times to say it, I'm like, what was your name? It's like, Aram, never heard that name before, or whatever that was. But eventually you get it, and you keep addressing the person. And I think you're basically valuing the person, and that's part of your integrity walk.
I
Yeah,
agree.
Gretchen, it's been so wonderful to have you, and we will continue with this series. And we hope even if one person listens and they can find something to take home and
Mhm.
something that will help them, that will be a great joy to us, and a time well spent.
I love that. Thank you so much for having me, Jules. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on this podcast, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon, Gretchen. And
Perfect.
the Lord bless you and make His face to shine upon you. And we we just keep holding the candle out, keeping the light ablaze. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Bye bye, Gretchen. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Girl from Bombay podcast. To connect and share your story, visit our website, authorjuleswilliams.com. That's authorjuleswilliams.com. The Girl from Bombay podcast is a Puzzles Media House production.